After you loaded the D3 library, there's nothing here. The screen is blank. If you look at the HTML portion in the inspector, the body is also blank. Loaded the main.js file into the HTML. However, the main.js is currently blank. We're going to append an SVG element to it. First, need to select the body. Once the body is selected, we can append an SVG element. This will be a new HTML tag. Let's save it. If you go back to the browser, if you go into the inspector in the developer tools, if you open up the body, there is now an SVG tag below the script files. This confirms that the SVG was appended onto the body. In addition to adding the HTML element SVG, we can also add attributes. We're going to set the width of the SVG viewport to 300 and the height to 300. At this point, we have 3 lines of code in the editor. However, there's only one semicolon. Note that I'm chaining the commands with a dot. If you put a semicolon here on the first line, these other 2 lines will not work. We're chaining together the JavaScript commands. If you now go back into the browser, Developer Tools Inspector, you'll see that the SVG tag now has the width and height specified from the editor here. So these elements here, the width and the height, were now put into the browser. Additionally, you can see on the inspector that when I mouse over it, the size of the SVG viewport, although it's not visible if I don't use the inspector, is now 300 by 300 pixels. 3 key points. First, use d3.select to select the HTML element. In this case, we selected body. Next is append. We chained together the d3 append command to append the SVG element onto the body. After we appended the SVG element, we set the attributes for the SVG element. d3.select. You select the HTML element. You append a new HTML element. Then you set the attributes of the HTML element, width and height. Congratulations, you've just finished the second tutorial. You've added a brand new SVG viewport with the specified dimensions of 300 by 300 pixels.